you were telling me, which was really interesting, that, and you corrected me because I didn't mention this, but that you are a published author.
I am.
So you were telling me that the book that you wrote was called Romance. The first one was Romance Costs Extra. So what was that about?
Yeah. So the book is about like how I started getting into escorting and stuff, and like my first couple of sugar daddies and how it all kind of just evolved. And I'm working on the second one. Haven't came up with a title yet.
Okay.
But that's me about getting into porn.
Okay. So the first one was escorting. The next one will be about porn.
Yeah. So the last chapter of my book is where I pack up and head out to LA to start my filming career.
Oh, nice.
So,
okay.
Yeah, second book is gonna be all about that.
So then what was it like? Was the first book, was it about like, did it have like anecdotes and stuff and your experiences of how?
Yeah. So starts out like, here's little Sara, just vanilla life. And she gets her first sugar daddy, and then a second one, and then puts her stuff up online, and then gets clientele, and just like the whole like evolution of it.
Okay.
And there's her falling in love with the client and heartbreak. And
oh wait, so
hence
is
the title.
Is it a fiction?
It's based on a true story.
Okay, so it's not like a straight like autobiography. It's more
no, because I didn't want to get anybody in trouble, so I had to change so much that I was like, well, all this is true, but it's so changed. So
yeah,
just be safe. It's based on a true story.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
What was the writing process like for you?
So I was lucky enough to have a co-writer because I've been talking about doing this for so long, and I'm not very self-motivated about like sitting down the computer and typing stuff out. Like my brain wants to do it, but my body's like, maybe later.
Yeah. Well, and you said that you get bored easily doing things.
Yes. So having a co-writer was a lot of like, okay, we have to have this done by this date. Like I send her over my stuff. She sends me what she has, and then we collab it together. And
okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of the process. So having somebody to keep me on track was the only reason I got done.
Well, I was going to say, did you know her beforehand, or was she like referred to you to help you out?
Yeah. So she has a few books out herself, and I've actually like helped her edit some of it in the past.
Okay.
Because I've loved writing my whole life and went to school for it, and So she came to me and was like, "Hey, I have an idea. You have a great story. Why don't we do one together about yours?"
Nice.
And at first I'm like, oh, I don't want to give my story to somebody else. Let somebody else put their name on my story. And then I'm like, Sara, we've been talking about doing this for 10 years. Where's the book?
Yeah.
Take her help. So I'm glad I did.
Okay. Nice. And so you wanted to so you had it in your head that you wanted to write a book
from like childhood.
Really?
That was also catalyst to getting in the adult industry. It was like, I want to do all sorts of crazy things and have really cool stories and I want to write a book about it. Because I mean, I could write a fiction book, but I wanted to have like the hands-on like experience of it too.
So I assume, did you love to read when you were younger then?
Oh yeah.
Do you still love to read?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of books kind of inflamed your imagination that made you like, this is the kind of book I'd want to write, or, if you know.
That's a really good question that I'll need to ponder in the future.
All right. That's fine.
Good job. You threw me off guard on that one.
Well, just because there are books I wish I could write. I wish I had that ability and that discipline. But.
Now that I'm in the industry, I love reading other working girls, like autobiographies and like their experiences. Like I like books that I could relate to. But my favorite book series growing up was Harry Potter, and just how like sensational and like in your face it was. And I guess a little bit of my writing style is the same way of just like shocking in your face, like paints a picture.
Yeah. Some nice world building in there. But yeah, it's interesting because was it hard to find a voice to write in? Because I know some people have a hard time with that.
So hard.
Because you're not trying to be you, but you're trying to make a character. Okay.
Yeah. So like everything that I know about writing, like from a technical sense, I kind of just started writing and I'm like, this doesn't even sound like me. It doesn't sound like anybody. This sounds boring. Then it was too much of my voice. So it was a lot of going back and forth and trying to figure out what's right.
Yeah. Well, and obviously having a co-writer probably helps with
much. Yeah.
With having somebody to bounce the ideas off of, and someone to be like, well, I give you some feedback and some potential criticism to be able to help.
It was a lot of us coming together and being like, well, I would say it this way. I would say it this way. And just
okay.
It's cool.
So is the character in your new book the same character from the first? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're creating a series. Have you tried to map out, like, are there other, like, more books in the series down the line?
Kind of, yes, maybe.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of adventures to be had.
As I'd say, kind of yes, maybe, but probably no. If I were to do it, I'd want to be in a trilogy. And I want the last one to be exiting the industry. And I don't have any plans to exit the industry.
Okay.
So if I ever do, then I'll definitely write a book about it. But I don't have any plans at the moment. So yes, there would be a third book, but we don't have plans for it anytime soon.
All right.
Because also too, like, I covered like the escorting, then I covered the porn. So I don't know. I mean, I can get into like dirty stories about people I fucked doing bodybuilding, but
well, I was gonna say there's a lot of life to be lived.
There is.
So
but I also love a good trilogy. So
you like the trilogy format. So you don't want to just end, over and over. Like you'd rather a story end on a high note.
Yes. Like some of these series are too played out. It's like, okay, you should have stopped at like the first 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's got to be tough because there are, with writing, because again, it's such a, like they say, it's all about rewriting as well. Like you'd write something and then you keep rewriting. Did you have? I was going to say, did you have a process where you'd like put a chapter out and then you would,
delete?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it took me so long to get this off the ground. Was because like I just hated the idea of like rewriting over it. Like I would read it because I'm such a perfectionist. I'd be like, no, this all sucks. Delete it. Then blank page, start again.
Yeah,
hate it.
At what point did you have to be like, okay, it's done, let's move on? Like when you thought, did you have to get your co-writers kind of like?
Well, once I finally teamed up with someone, was like, okay, I can't just keep deleting this. I have to give her something.
Yeah. Well, because you could always keep, making, you could tweak it endlessly. Yeah. Before you get to the point where you're like, okay, let's stop. Let's just keep going.
Oh yeah, I'm such a perfectionist too.
Well, and your opinions can change about what you're writing. Like at one moment you can think, oh, this is great. This is great. And then you look back and you're like, oh, that sucks.
Honestly, too. Totally depends on my mood. Like when I write something, like if I'm in like a super happy mood, like let me be so light and so happy. And then if I'm in like mood, it's like, ooh, that was sassy. It's like, yeah. So it's like when I go back and read it, if I'm in a different mood, it's like, oh, this isn't matching. Hate.
Nice.